I'm thirsty. I need to drink some water.
Try some of this water.
Dang, what is this water?
Desalinated water.
What's that? I've never heard of desalination before.
Oh, desalination is when you remove the salt from seawater to make it drinkable.
Really? Why can't we just drink ocean water?
Because seawater contains a lot of salt. Drinking that water would make you dehydrated, leaving you thirstier than when you started drinking the water.
Oh, I see. How do they desalinate water?
Well, there are a few ways of desalinating water. The most commonly used method of desalination is reverse osmosis. This is what most desalination plants use. In reverse osmosis, ocean water goes through a semi-permeable membrane, which is made of 3 layers: polyamide layer, polysulfone layer, and the polyester base. The polyamide layer is extremely thin, and it removes nutrients, chemicals, bacteria, and viruses from the water. The water gets past because its particles are smaller. The other 2 layers support the polyamide layer. The polyamide layer needs lots of support because it's just 0.2 microns thick.
Wait a second. What does 0.2 microns mean?
That's equivalent to 1/millionth of a meter, which is like a fourth of the size of a dust mite.
Holy cow, that's small.
Anyways, on top of the membrane, there's a feed membrane spacer. This provides space between the membranes and adds turbulence to the water. Then the membrane gets rolled up into a cylinder that is 40 inches long and 8 inches in diameter. There are usually 7 of these membranes in one pressure vessel. Then the water is shot through the tube of membrane. Clean water passes through the filters and it goes into tubes that take the recycled water off. The dirty water does not get through and it is transported to other reverse osmosis cells. The dirty water then is transported to one of the other treatment stages. Most of the time there are only 3 stages, as this produces the most amounts of water. In stage 1, 65% of the water is extracted from the salt water. In stage 2, a further 10% is extracted. In stage 3, 5% is extracted. This process effectively recycles 80% of the ocean water.
Why aren't there even more stages?
The remaining water that does not make it through has so much salt in it that to continue recycling it would cost way too much. This water is sent to another part of the plant that treats the water so that it can be sent back into the ocean again. So reverse osmosis is efficient and doesn't cost too much.
That's very interesting. Are there any desalination plants in the United States?
There are a few. The US has about 250 plants. However, worldwide, there are more than 21,000 desalination plants in the world, producing 3.5 billions of gallons every day, which is enough for over 300 million people.
Wow, why aren't there more desalination plants?
Well, because desalination is really expensive. It takes at least $750,000 to make a functioning desalination plant. It is $3 to $4 for 1,000 gallons of desalinated water. 1,000 gallons of fresh water costs only $1.5. Also, desalination plants use an average of 3 kilowatts of energy for every meter cubed of water. This is equivalent to the amount of energy needed to transport fresh water over long distances.
Well, that's a lot of money. How will having better desalination plants affect the world?
Well, more desalination plants means for more sources of water. These extra sources of water will really help out in areas where there are droughts.
Oh, I see.
Currently, Algeria uses the most desalinated water with a whopping 15 desalination plants, each producing an average of 160,000 US gallons of water. The next country is Saudi Arabia. It has the largest desalination plant in the world. Unfortunately, the US is 26 on the desalination list, and Texas uses the most desalinated water within US. This is ironic because the US uses the most water, excluding China and Russia, in the Western Hemisphere currently, and yet they don't use desalination.
As more and more people use fresh water, will the price of fresh water stay the same?
With the freshwater supply going down, prices for freshwater will go up. Desalination will help improve the water supplies. Sadly, the amount of desalination plants right now only compensate for 1% of the world's water consumption. Ocean water has 35,000 ppm, so basically it's highly saline or brackish. Ships like small sailboats use desalination to supply themselves with water. They make smaller version of this though, yet this isn't enough for desalination to compete with the freshwater usage. Even if desalinated water is about 29 cents for a liter by itself, fresh water will be ultimately cheaper. Well, at least for now.
How much fresh water is there?
Well, let's face the facts. 70% of the earth is water. 97.5% of that is seawater. This gives us 2.5% as fresh water. That's very devastating to the human population, obviously. However, desalination will help us utilize that seawater and never have to worry about water ever again. If we use desalination as a primary source, the water may last us until we find planetary sources for water. Now that's a really long time. The good news is, water is in a continuous cycle. It's not like urine is something else. Urine is at most 88% water and the rest is chemicals. Water won't just disappear, it's at a continuous cycle of recycling. So what I'm saying is that the freshwater supply won't run out. We just don't have enough to satisfy everyone on the earth.
What are the two main areas of concern for scarcity of fresh water around the globe?
It has got to be India and Africa. Africa is placed near the equator. Geographically speaking, it's at a disadvantage. With temperatures as high as 115, water will surely be scarce. India may not be very hot, however, with its growing population in such a small area, water usage is overlooked. And if you couldn't guess, China's next on the list.
How much water do we need every day?
An average American uses from 100 to 175 gallons of water on an everyday basis. We drink about 5 liters per day. Agriculture uses at least 85% of the country's freshwater supply. Now that's a lot of water. Germany uses up the most water with 121 liters a day, and Africa only uses up 20 liters a day. An average person must use at least 50 liters a day.
Wow, that's sure interesting.
Oh yeah, one more thing I want to state. Have you ever heard of virtual water?
Is that like water in a computer?
No.
Okay, then what is it, you smart aleck?
Virtual water. Sounds like something from a sci-fi movie, does it? Well, it's real. Take a look at a juicy double cheeseburger.
I'd rather have a veggie burger.
Okay. Anyways, the beef used 1,237 liters of water to make and clean. The vegetables needed at least another 1,000 liters to make, and that bread was made using at least 1,000 liters. So much water for such an innocent-looking burger.
Good for me that I like veggie burgers.
No one likes veggie burgers.
Yeah, some people do.
Alright, sure.
Thanks for the water and the lesson. Bye.
You're welcome. Bye.